New text messages have been revealed from an It Ends With Us editor that exposes the control that Blake Lively had on the project. Also, Blake Lively's team has responded to that deposition reveal.
But you made us promise that in no season would your character ever be locked in a cage.
we all remember Savannah.
Another promise was no pet monkey. Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. Then I got a few of them.
She got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke.
Who else didn't want to act in a cage?
Well, some of them started.
A cage.
Explosive new text messages have just surfaced that could completely change everything we thought we knew about Blake Lively's involvement in It Ends With Us. These aren't just any messages. They're internal communications between film editors that reveal the shocking extent of control Lively demanded over scenes she wasn't even in. But here's the twist that nobody saw coming. Blake Lively allegedly forced her way into having approval rights over scenes featuring the young actress playing her teenage character. Was this creative collaboration? Or was it a calculated power grab that crossed every professional boundary in Hollywood?
It was a scene involving young Lily. Let's go straight to the text. Here they are as part of an exhibit where personal details such as phone numbers have been removed. But this individual, Henry Grace, is the owner of this chat that seemed to have JB as well. Was an owner as well, along with Rob and Una, who were editors on the project. JB, I can only assume, is...
The messages don't just expose control. They reveal frustration, manipulation, and what appears to be a systematic takeover of a project that wasn't hers to control. Could these revelations be the smoking gun that destroys her legal case entirely? The newly leaked text messages between film editors reveal what can only be described as a systematic takeover attempt. These conversations between Henry Grace, Rob, and Una aren't just casual workplace complaints. They're official court exhibits that expose the shocking reality of Blake Lively's behavior during production.
Justin Baldoni. But Henry chimes in, done. PG-13, says Una. No adjustments. I guess this is getting the film or the trailer through. Yep, great news. Woo, woohoo, Rob says. Exclamation point, exclamation point. So are we keeping the thrust? I'll drink to that, Rob says. Of course, I plan on drinking anyway. But then Henry chimes in, that's going to end up being a Blake call. Honestly, if you can get her to keep it in and it's in the movie when I get back, it can stay in. She has approval of that scene.
Let's break down exactly what happened, step by step. The conversation begins innocuously enough. The editors are discussing getting approval for what appears to be a trailer or film cut. Una mentions PG-13 and no adjustments, suggesting they've successfully navigated ratings requirements. Their celebration, hot done. Woot. Woohoo. The kind of relief that comes from clearing a major hurdle.
Because she wasn't part of writing that scene and didn't want a character depicting her to have X in high school, honestly, it's all about control, and so she could get to what she would be next week, all good. Hi, Rob. Now, here's what's frustrating. If she had read the book, she'd know that's what happens in the damn book.
But then the conversation takes a dark turn. Rob asks, so, are we keeping the thrust? This appears to reference specific content in a scene. That's when Henry Grace drops the bombshell that changes everything. That's going to end up being a Blake call. Think about what this means. These are professional film editors discussing whether content stays in the movie, and they're not looking to the director, the producer, or even the studio for final approval. They're looking to Blake Lively, the lead actress.
Saying hi, they share some stuff back and forth. Seems images or movie clips or something that are being shared there. And then version with Taylor. I imagine this is all trailer approvals, is why I keep saying that. There must have been a moment in the original cuts that required that. Anyway, I'll be late, just got the phone with Jamie, all good, yada, yada, yada. And then they're adding the text to the trailer. New text, if someone you know is experiencing DV, help is on the way, visit no more, So
But here's where it gets truly explosive. Henry continues. She has approval of that scene even for young Lily. This isn't about Blake Lively's own scenes. This isn't about content she appears in or dialogue she delivers. This is about scenes featuring the young actress who plays teenage Lily, scenes that Blake Lively has absolutely no business controlling. The editor's immediate reaction tells us everything we need to know. One responds with SMH. Shake my head. This isn't confusion or professional disagreement.
Was filed in support of their argument that there's no basis that Brian Freeman's firm has participated in, fueled, or advanced a smear campaign. amounted to public relations work rather than that of an attorney. That's what they keep accusing. But in fact, this tactic perfectly demonstrates the council's PR agent role, because there is no conceivable legal purpose to file the whole transcript, particularly given that it has not been reviewed, corrected, or finalized, and a mere 2 pages of it were cited in their argument. Now,
this is pure frustration with what they clearly see as inappropriate overreach. Henry Grace then reveals the most damaging detail of all. I was just thinking the same thing when she claimed she was unsafe. She redid the writer to get approval of young Lily. Let's pause and examine what this statement actually means. According to the editor, Blake Lively made claims about feeling unsafe on set. She then used these safety concerns to renegotiate her contract, specifically her writer, which outlines an actor's specific requirements and approvals. Through this process, she somehow secured approval rights over scenes featuring another actress entirely. The editors continue to express their frustration, with one noting, clearly frustration. Continued frustration, I would imagine, because she wasn't part of writing that scene and didn't want a character depicting her to have certain content in high school. This reveals the scope of Lively's control. She's not just influencing scenes she appears in, she's making creative decisions about content she didn't write, involving characters she doesn't play, in scenes that depict events she's not part of. The editor specifically mentions high school content, suggesting Lively was censoring or modifying scenes involving the teenage version of her character. But perhaps the most telling moment comes when an editor states, if she had read the book, she'd know that's what happens in the book. This suggests that Lively was demanding changes to content that comes directly from the source material, Colleen Hoover's original novel. Why is this so significant? Because it indicates that Lively wasn't just collaborating on creative interpretation, she was potentially demanding changes to establish story elements that fans would expect to see faithfully adapted. The pattern that emerges from these messages is clear and disturbing. Blake Lively systematically used safety concerns to gain unprecedented control over a project that wasn't hers to control. She secured approval rights over other actors' scenes, censored content from the source material, and created an environment where professional editors felt frustrated and powerless. The editor's assessment is brutally honest. It's all about control. And these text messages provide contemporaneous evidence that supports exactly that conclusion. This wasn't creative collaboration. This was a calculated takeover of someone else's project. Let's rewind for a second and understand how we got to this point. The It Ends With Us project began as an adaptation of Colleen Hoover's best-selling novel, with Justin Baldoni attached as both director and co-star alongside Blake Lively. What should have been a straightforward book-to-film adaptation quickly became a battleground of control and creative differences. The story centers on domestic violence and abusive relationships, serious subject matter that requires careful, respectful handling. Initially, Baldoni was set to direct the film while also playing the male lead, Ryle. Blake Lively came on board as the female lead, Lily. But somewhere along the way, the power dynamic shifted dramatically. The text messages now reveal that Lively didn't just want input on her own performance, she wanted control over the entire project. This included scenes she wasn't in, characters she didn't play, and creative decisions that traditionally fall under the director's authority. The safety concerns mentioned in the texts appear to reference Lively's claims about feeling unsafe on set. According to the messages, she used these concerns to renegotiate her contract and secure unprecedented approval rights over content throughout the film. This background is crucial because it shows a pattern of behavior that extends far beyond normal creative collaboration. This appears to be a systematic attempt to take control of a project from the inside out. From a legal standpoint, these text messages could be absolutely devastating to Blake Lively's case. Here's why. They provide contemporaneous evidence of her behavior and motivations, documented by neutral third parties, the film editors, came public. This is classic damage control. When you can't dispute the facts, you attack the messenger. Lively's team goes even further, claiming that Baldoni's side immediately leaked details from her deposition to create a media circus. They point to news reports about the deposition, including details about what Lively wore and who attended. However, this response raises its own questions. The team provides no actual evidence that Baldoni's side was the source of these leaks. In fact, some of the coverage they cite came from outlets that have historically been favorable to Lively. The broader implications for Hollywood are significant. This case is becoming a referendum on how power dynamics work in the industry. When does creative input cross the line into inappropriate control? How should safety concerns be balanced against professional responsibilities? These text messages suggest that some actors might be using legitimate workplace safety frameworks to gain inappropriate leverage over projects. If that's proven, it could lead to industry-wide changes in how such situations are handled. The timing of these revelations is also crucial. They come as Lively's legal case is facing increasing scrutiny, and they provide concrete evidence to support claims that her behavior on set was problematic and controlling. What's particularly damaging is that these messages show frustration from people who had no stake in the legal dispute. They were just trying to do their jobs and edit the film. Their candid reactions provide a window into what actually happened behind the scenes. The text messages revealing Blake Lively's control over It Ends With Us represent a potential turning point in this explosive legal battle. They provide contemporaneous evidence from neutral parties that supports claims about her inappropriate behavior on set. More importantly, they suggest that safety concerns may have been weaponized to gain creative control, a revelation that could have far-reaching implications for how Hollywood handles workplace disputes. As this case continues to unfold, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The truth about what happened on It Ends With Us set is far more complex and controversial than initially appeared. And if these text messages are any indication, there may be much more damaging evidence yet to come. The battle between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni has evolved from a simple workplace dispute into a case study of power, control, and accountability in Hollywood. The outcome could reshape how the industry handles similar conflicts for years to come. What do you think about these shocking text message revelations? Do they prove Blake Lively overstepped her boundaries, or are they being taken out of context? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and let us know where you stand on this explosive Hollywood